Some breaking news, Sixers fans, as Philadelphia has made a few roster moves out of NBA free agency, which gets underway tomorrow. You're watching 76ers Now by Chat Sports. My name is Jake Chipper. Our show is presented by PrizePicks. We'll break down each of the roster decisions Philadelphia has made on today's show. Before we do, though, as I mentioned, that free agency does officially get underway tomorrow. Teams can start signing external free agents to contracts. We'll be live at least tomorrow, probably the next day as well, here on the channel, breaking down every signing the Sixers make, every rumor, but also every move that happens across the league as well. Been a lot of rumors around the NBA flying over the past couple of days. So lock us in, hit that subscribe button, join us, and turn on your notifications. That way, when we do go live, probably about an hour before that free agency marker, you will be notified. So, a few team options that Philadelphia had to decide on by today, and we'll go through each of them. I don't know if any of these are super surprising, but some of the implications of them a little bit interesting and complicated. So Dominick Barlow got his team option accepted. He'll be under contract for $3.4 million next season. Dalen Terry, who the Sixers got mid-year, the team accepted his team option at $2.5 million. And then the Sixers actually declined Trendon Watford's team option at $2.8 million. That was expected, but sounds like they might not be bringing him back. And we'll get through all of this. Let's start with Dominick Barlow, who, of course, had a breakout year for Philadelphia this past season. Started the year in a two-way deal, ended up playing so well and being such a vital piece of this team with the rebounding, the effort, the energy, doing all the little things the Sixers needed from him, whether he was starting, coming off the bench, just playing that role that he played so well. And so we got from a two-way contract to a standard deal. The deal they gave him had this team option on the second year, which just gave the Sixers more flexibility for how they wanted to kind of use him and see how he maybe fit would long term. See the numbers on screen right there. Just under 8 points, 5 rebounds. Not a very good three-point shooter, but he does what he does and he plays his role pretty well. And so I'm not surprised that the Sixers are bringing him back and accepting the option, but it's a little disappointing because there's some nuance with some of this contract stuff here. There was never a question that Barlow was going to be back and play for Philadelphia this upcoming season. Where there was a little bit of a question mark, though, was would they accept the option or would they get a long-term deal done? A lot of the chatter was, Barlow and the Sixers will come to terms on a 3 or 4 year deal worth around $4-ish million per season to lock him in long-term. That didn't happen. So by them picking up his option, he'll play out this upcoming season on that $3.4 million salary, and then he'll be a free agent next offseason. And so I think it's a little bit worrisome that they weren't able to come to terms on a new deal, meaning Barlow could leave as soon as next season. We'll see, as we head in towards the back end of next year, if they are able to eventually bring him back. But at the very least, he will be on the team this season as Barlow's team option was accepted. Now we'll talk about Dalen Terry as well as Trendon Watford coming up right around the corner. But as I mentioned off the top, today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks, America's #1 sports picks app. And one of the things I love about PrizePicks is how it really gets you into some of these sports that maybe you wouldn't be as tuned into. For me, I'm not a huge soccer guy, but with the World Cup on and with PrizePicks as well having so many great offers, I've been dialed in. And so for today, this game actually just got underway. Brazil taking on Japan. Why not go with Vinny Jr.? He's been absolutely hot, and I love his goals. The more or less at a half goal is a demon play, meaning it's a higher payout than normal. He's scored in every game he's played in this World Cup for Brazil, coming off a 2-goal game as well. And so why not ride the hot hand, and especially with this being a demon play, get a little bit of a larger payout if Vinny Jr. can score a goal again. Maybe by the time you're watching the show, he's already scored a goal, maybe a couple. So I'm taking that, Vinny Jr. more than a half goal. I'm going to pair that up with Alisson Becker more than 1.5 goalie saves, and then Zion Suzuki less than 3.5 goalie saves, a 4.75 times multiplier to win 237.5. That is how the more or less game works with PrizePicks. And right now, we have a great offer for new users. If you download the PrizePicks app today and use the code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup, you'll receive $50 in lineups. Again, that's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with PrizePicks. That link down in the comments and description of today's show. So Barlow had his team option accepted. Dalen Terry also had his team option accepted. And on the surface, I was a little bit surprised that they would be willing to bring him back, given I really didn't think Dalen Terry gave this team all that much. He came in pretty late midseason on a two-way deal after the Sixers converted Jabari Walker and Dominick Barlow's two ways to standard contracts. Dalen Terry took one of their spots and really didn't play any meaningful minutes for Philadelphia. I didn't really think showed a whole lot. I mean, he's got some length. He can play some tough defense, former Chicago Bull, but didn't really shoot the ball that well. Offensively, still very, very raw. So, at first I was like, oh, they're picking up his option. A little bit strange. But when you look into the finer details of his deal, it's not quite as, I want to say confusing, but his salary, even though they picked up his team option, is non-guaranteed until January. And so there's a very good chance that Dalen Terry doesn't actually end up on this team by the time the season starts or by the time the trade deadline does roll around, because they can just cut bait with him at any point, even though they did pick up his option, and the money will just come off the books. No penalty for it, no nothing. They could pick up the option today, and if they want another roster spot or they need another roster spot in free agency or for a trade, they could literally just cut him. And so there's really no downside. There's no risk to picking up the option now for Terry. It gives you flexibility, so at least you have him on the roster for now. You can use his salary in a trade, or again, if you need that open roster spot, you can always cut him and let him go. But Terry, as of right now, team option is picked up, is back on the roster. Let's get a Trendon Watford. And this one is a little bit interesting to me, right? So Watford had his team option declined by Philadelphia, which wasn't all that unexpected. Thought maybe there was a chance they could decline his option and then re-sign him. Look, Watford this season, I would say, was a little bit disappointing, right? And at least for me, I had some decent expectations for Trendon Watford, given the skill set he has. But really, especially as the season went on, like his role just started to disappear. He's boys with Tyrese Maxey. And that's why, the signing, you're like, okay, he's here with Maxey. That's his guy. He's got an interesting skill set. But once the playoffs rolled around, Watford really didn't get any playing time at all, any real meaningful minutes for Philadelphia. And so I mentioned that, it wasn't all that surprising they declined his option here, because the thought was you decline Watford's option, you can actually re-sign him for cheaper than what his contract was. And so it always made sense for Philadelphia to say, we'll decline the team option, but then we can bring it back on a smaller deal. But that does not seem to be the case. Adem Bona, Philly Voice, reporting that Watford is actually unlikely to return to Philadelphia this upcoming season after they declined his team option today. I am surprised about this. I thought, even though, again, he was disappointing and he didn't really play an important role for Philadelphia down the stretch, I thought they'd at least bring him back for 1 year at a very cheap price, but looks like they're deciding to move on. And so I thought with his passing ability, his rebounding ability at his size, we saw some games where Watford, especially earlier in the season, was like running the offense as a initiator, getting downhill, getting inside. He can pass the ball well. He's got the vision at his size. I was excited about the signing last season, but it just did not end up materializing into a real role for him or into a situation where Philadelphia wants to keep him around long term. It's not like completely dead that they will bring him back. There's still obviously a chance they could look to bring him back in free agency, but at least as of now, they're going to decide to use that roster spot on somebody else. And it seems like Trendon Watford has played his last game as a Philadelphia 76er after just one season. A little extra note, roster move here. Adem Bona also let us know the Sixers will not tender Tyrese Martin on a two-way qualifying offer. He'll be an unrestricted free agent. Tyrese Martin was another one of those players that Philadelphia brought in on a two-way deal after Barlow and Walker got their official contracts. And so the Sixers will have all three two-way spots open to fill. We'll see if they maybe decide to get some of the guys they like in Summer League, who we've talked about a few of these Summer League and UDFA signings so far in the show. Give some of them contracts. If there's other players that they like in free agency on some two-ways. Remember last year, Sixers got Barlow on a two-way. They got Walker on a two-way. So they've had some success with two-ways in the past. Obviously, that was with Daryl Morey as GM and president of basketball operations, not Mike Gansey. But of note there, they will have to fill some of those spots heading into the season. So Dominick Barlow, Dalen Terry, back on the roster for now. Trendon Watford, not. He will most likely not be back with Philadelphia. Is that a mistake? What do you think? I want to say it is because I like the idea of Trendon Watford, but unfortunately he didn't play well enough. So I think it's fine letting him go. It's not going to be a big deal to the Sixers team at the end of the day. But would you have kept Trendon Watford if you were Philadelphia? Give me a yes, give me a no. Let me know down in the comment section. And of course, guys, be sure to hit that sub button before we hop on out of here. Look, there's a lot of news and rumors flying around during a time like this. In fact, probably later today, We will have some more free agency updates for you guys on players the Sixers could sign, some guys they have been linked to. And then again, we'll be live tomorrow as well for free agency. There's a lot going on, very busy time. You don't want to miss out. So be sure to lock us in. Hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you all for watching, and we'll catch you soon here on the show.